Howdy folks! So I have another fountain pen review for you today, and this is probably going to be one of my last, if not my last. And the simple reason for that is, well, I mean, I have a lot of these pens, and with this one I think I've sort of found it. I found what I'm looking for. This pen is probably my favorite and will probably be my everyday use pen from now on. This is the Baoer 51, or the Baoer 051 if you want to go with their 3-digit part numbers. And it is, I mean, it's an inexpensive Chinese pen, just like all the rest that I've reviewed. And so I'll go over it, and we'll look at the physical construction, the weight, things like that, how it feels, how it writes, and then we'll do a writing test at the end. So in terms of size, just off the bat, this is my, up until now, my favorite pen. This is another Baoer, it's the 388. And you can see that if I line these up, capped, it's just a tiny bit longer. I mean, maybe by 2 or 3 millimeters. It's basically insignificant. And in terms of weight, if I get out my scale, so I forget how much this thing was. The 388 was, okay, so 25 grams for the 388. And this pen capped is 32 grams. So it's a little bit heavier, but it's very, very well balanced, and I'll go over that when I do the writing. So in this case, it's just this metal, nice and shiny. There's nothing on the end, it's just rounded. Mine has a little nick on the end here, obviously a manufacturing or a shipping damage, which is kind of annoying because other than that, it's very smooth everywhere. So this body is not what I ordered. I actually ordered a solid black version, and they shipped me the wrong one. So I'm probably going to order another one of these just because I like it so much. That's the proper color. So you can get these with a bunch of different bands. This is actually quite nice. You can't feel the lines because it's obviously just painted on. And this is actually separate right here. So this end cap is separate from the body. There is actually a lip there that you can feel. The cap, on the end, it's got this U shape, which leads into the clip. And the clip on this is actually quite interesting. Sort of like other pens, the clip is very, very fixed, and the clip doesn't move. And I mean, these things require a lot of force to open them. This one actually doesn't require as much force. In fact, this one's actually quite nice to open. And it's because it hinges a lot higher up, more because the clip is flat at the top and that's where it bends. It's still a very, very strong clip, and I mean, it doesn't feel like it's going to break off, but I like this clip a lot nicer because, I mean, you can actually clip it onto things that are thicker than a sheet of paper without feeling like you're going to crush the thing, which is nice. And the top, again, there's another seam around here where the top is. It's all held in by one screw. And the cap is actually square, and well, it's a rounded square. And the base, or the back of the pen is perfectly round, so it sort of flattens out on the cap, which I like. I mean, it's actually quite a nice design. So opening it up, looking at the cap first, I don't think you can see down there, but there's just a screw which holds the clip on, and there's also a plastic sleeve around here, just like the other nice pens. I've only had one pen so far that doesn't have a sleeve on it, and that was quite a low quality pen. So it's an all metal cap. It's a nice cap. And for the actual pen itself, it goes down into a hard plastic grip here. So it's perfectly round. It's hard. There's no urethane. There's no other things. I mean, you can see it's even shiny. And I quite like this grip. The nib here is all one color. It's all silver. There's no two-tone, anything like that. I'll see how close I can get this to focus. You can see it's got Baoer engraved on it, and that little sort of semicircle pattern, and it's got the breather hole. And the feeder on this is different from most of the other pens. It's actually a solid feeder, which I think actually looks quite nice. It's a lot better than the sort of the thinned feeders that you see that, I mean, they look kind of cheap. I mean, they function perfectly fine, but this one I think just looks nicer. Anyway, so just as a comparison, I'll look at the 388. The nibs are identical in size, however, they are not. They're obviously not the same. The 388 has some sort of gold. I mean, it's probably not a gold plating, but some sort of gold on it. It's two-tone, and the feeder, as you can see, is different. But other than that, they're exactly the same size. This one has a band on it, whereas this one is just plastic all the way to the end. So we'll put that away because that's not really what we're here for. So this pen is International Cartridge Converter, like every other pen. It's about half full of ink right now because I've been using it a lot. This pen actually has a sticker on it, which it's a genuine Baoer converter, at least as far as I can tell. Anyway, it's got the Baoer logo on here. It's a nice converter. I mean, hasn't leaked. That's really all I'm looking for, is if it hasn't leaked. It's a decent size, unlike some of the other pens I have, which have really small converters. This one actually holds a decent amount of ink, so I'm quite happy with that. And it's it's metal thread on the inside, and it locks on to plastic thread, of course, for the grip, and it works quite well. And you can of course tighten this down all the way, unlike some other pens I've tried, primarily the Jinhao 599, which you can't tighten this, which is a design flaw in my opinion. So this pen is great that way. Now in terms of balance, this pen, I actually like it both ways, to be honest, unposted and posted. To post this pen, it's actually, it's not bad. You do have to push it down a little bit more than some of the other pens to get it to lock on before it goes loose. So maybe that's one thing to look out for. But I mean, if you push hard enough, it will stay on there, and it's pretty good. The nice thing about it, at least, is when you put it on, the cap comes exactly down to that point where the end meets the body, which I mean just looks quite nice, because you get to see the. I mean, it's not like it sits here or anything stupid like that. It actually comes down all the way, which is kind of nice. So yeah, I mean it's perfectly fine balanced this way, and posted is also fine. So I think if you're not really sure whether you like a pen with extra weight on it, this might be a good one to see, because it works well both ways. It's not top heavy, it just adds a little bit more mass, and I mean the cap is actually a decent amount of weight. Actually, while I have this here, I'll just measure the pen without the cap. It's 23 grams without the cap. So yeah, the cap is actually quite a bit of the weight, so if you want a lighter pen, just don't put the cap on. So how does this thing write? And again, I will say the same thing I say all the time: your nib is not my nib. If you buy this pen, I cannot guarantee that you're going to have the same results as mine. But what I will say is my nib, at least the one I got, was excellent. This is the first pen that I have not had to adjust the nib at all. I have not touched this since I bought it, because it is perfect from the factory, which is amazing. I don't know if they're all like this, but whether I got lucky. I mean, if I order another one of these, obviously I'll find out if I got lucky or if it was just I mean, that's how they come. But I really like this. It's got an excellent flow. It's very smooth in all directions, and I mean, it's got a little bit more flow than the 388, but definitely, I mean, nowhere near like the Jinhao X450 or anything like that. It puts down a good amount of ink. It's a nice medium size. You can write upside down, and it's very, very fine, but it works beautifully upside down. So if you want to do fine detail work, it's great. I mean, I really like this nib. It hasn't given me any issues with dry starting or anything like that. I mean, the 388 has actually started giving me issues with dry starting over the couple of weeks. The last couple of weeks I've been having issues with it, so I'm probably just gonna have to clean it, because I think because I left it stored on its side a couple of times, I think there's some dried ink in it, so I think it's sort of my fault. But anyway, we'll see how this one fares. So of course, you all guys all can't wait to see my horrible handwriting here. Yeah, that's pretty shitty. So yeah, I mean, I really like the way that this writes. in all directions. It's nice. I mean, the size of the ink, the amount it puts down, you can write upside down, and you can see it's much finer, but it works beautifully. So I mean, you can easily do fine work with it. So I'm very happy with this pen. I mean, I like the way it feels. I like the quality. I like the way it's built. When you put the cap on, you get a snapping sound. It's not the same sort of two-phase snap that you get out of something like this, where you kind of get that. This is kind of one of those where it goes smoothly in with resistance and then clicks. Where this is sort of an all at once. It just clicks, and this kind of feels more reliable than this. I mean, this still feels smoother, but I still like the way the cap goes on this. So, all in all, this is probably my favorite Chinese pen under $3. And I'll be definitely using this a lot more than all my others. So, yeah, I mean, now that I'm pretty much done my experiment, I mean, maybe in the future I'll get more, but definitely not for a while. So, since I'm sort of done my experiment, I'd have to rank this my favorite, the Baoer 51. My second favorite is the Baoer 388. I mean, this is still a great pen. My third favorite would have to be the X450, under the simple fact that, I mean, it looks nice, and I mean, if I fix the nib, it would probably be fine for doing some things, but definitely I wouldn't write with it. I draw things like circuit schematics and stuff with it, where you're doing large lines and stuff, and the mass of the pen doesn't really matter. But I wouldn't write with it. Just that's my opinion. And then the Jinhao 599 is a piece of shit. I would never buy that. So that's my 2 cents on this pen and a couple of the other ones. So hopefully you found this sort of informative. And thanks for watching.